Hey guys, Danny Johnson here, and just wanted to answer a quick question, and that is, will the new Raptor shocks fit on the old Gen 1? The short answer to that is yes. However, it does take a little bit of modification on the front shocks. The rear ones will bolt right up, and a few things on that I'll also show you. Quick disclaimer, the new shocks and struts from the new Raptor will not allow your old Raptor to jump like this. So first of all, to look at the shocks and struts, the first generation Raptor had the really nice Fox and SVT racing struts, and they continued that in the next year, but they were a little bit different. The front Raptor shocks were 2.5 inches in diameter and had 11.2 inches of travel, which was a significant amount. The rears were also 2.5 inches of diameter, and they had a full 12 inches of travel. The Gen 2 Raptor, when it came out, had some upgrades here. You now had a 3-inch diameter shock in front and rear, and you had 13 full inches of travel in the front and 13.9 inches of travel in the rear, so that was a significant difference. The Generation 2 Raptor now was no longer an SVT product. It was now a Ford Performance, so you will notice as well that the Gen 1 shocks have SVT on them and the newer ones do not. So here's a little side-by-side comparison. You can tell the difference just by looking at them in length. One thing to note is that on the first generation Raptor, the shocks both pointed forwards toward the front of the truck, and that later changed, as you'll see now on the new Raptor. The passenger side points forward, and when you look at the driver's side, it actually will point backwards. So why is that so important? Well, if you look at the new shock, they're exactly identical the way that they come out printed with Fox written on them in Raptor, and so it looks like an identical shock since they switched. So you're essentially getting two of the same, where the Gen 1, they had them reversed so that the shock would show Fox and Raptor per side differently. So in the end, what that means is that one of your shocks and struts on one side, you won't see the lettering that says Fox or Raptor on it. So as far as installation, as we went over, the rears will bolt up just fine. However, the fronts, that spring is so much of a bigger diameter that it's going to rub on both the frame and also on the front drive shaft for the four-wheel drive. So you will have fitment issues there. That's why they won't exactly bolt up. This picture shows you how big that coil is, and so that's the main problem. So in order to get around this, you just have to use the old springs from the previous coilovers that you'll be taking off, and when you do that, it will line up a lot better. But here's a picture of it with the old spring or coil installed, and as you can see, it's narrow enough where you don't have any of the fitment issues. So switch over the spring. You'll need a spring compressor, and also you'll need to switch over the hardware studs on the top. So here's the old and new spring next to each other again, and as you can see towards the top, the stud length was a lot longer on the factory shock that you'll need. Then end of the day, now you're going to have a longer strut. You're going to have to compress it just to get it to fit to where the old one would bolt up. So with that said, you have more travel, but don't think you're going to really have much more use out of it unless you go to a lift kit or do something to extend the travel.